Today is Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. I am the interviewer Amy Moritz with Tara VanDerveer via Zoom. Tara graduated from Buffalo Seminary in 1971, starting her college career at Albany before transferring to Indiana. After coaching stops at Idaho and Ohio State, Tara took over the women's basketball program at Stanford in 1986, building a powerhouse over 38 years with 3 national championships. She retired in 2024 with 1,216 career wins. Tara also coached the U.S. women's national team to gold at the 1996 Olympics. She's a member of numerous halls of fame, including the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, and the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame.
We'll just get right into it. And then my first
Right.
question for you is, tell me about a time that you first remember falling in love with sports.
Well, both my parents are very active, and I'm the oldest of 5. And from, I think the earliest time I can remember, we were always going to the Y, going in the pool, jumping on the trampoline, shooting baskets, climbing ropes. We watched the Springfield College gymnastics team would come to town. We'd go watch them. We would go skiing. We were outside playing all the time. So I don't remember a time when I didn't love sports. So I don't remember when it started. It's just always been there, I think.
It's always been part of just your life.
Yes. Yes.
So obviously you're then active with your family and doing things with them, but what opportunities were available, organized opportunities for girls at the time?
I don't remember that there were any. There wasn't like anything like today. This was pre-Title IX, so we did not have organized. I went out and played basketball with the boys and girls in the neighborhood. We played baseball, tennis, ice skated. We did everything kind of more in a community setting. And then as I got older, the boys would have Little League, and would have, but we didn't have any softball or we couldn't play Little League. And then even when I got even older, then girls could play in boys' sports because there weren't sports for girls at the time.
So did you play before you moved to Western New York, did you then play in any of those teams with boys at the school level?
No, that happened when it happened kind of after.
Okay.
There weren't girls that played at the time. I wish I could have. I would have loved to have played on basketball teams or baseball teams or whatever. In fact, when I moved to New York, it was just starting where girls could go out for boys teams. And so I wanted to go out for the boys tennis team. We moved when I was a sophomore in high school, and it was in the middle of, we moved in November. And so that was a horrible time to move. I hated it. But in the spring, I wanted to go out for the tennis team, but they said, we will bring it up at our June Board of Education meeting. By then, school would already be over. But my younger sister, Beth, a year younger than me, so then the next year was when then I went to private school. I went to Buffalo Seminary. And my sister, Beth, was the #1 singles player on the boys tennis team. And some of the boys that she would beat would get so mad they'd throw their rackets over the fence. And then my sister Marie is 5 years younger than me. She swam on the boys swim team. But they said, well, we don't wear our bathing suits to practice. And she said, I don't care. I'm wearing mine. And she was really good swimmer. And so she would do really well in the swim meets. But then by the time my youngest sister was playing, they had girls softball and girls basketball for her in high school.
Okay. So when you then came to Buffalo Seminary, that was for your junior year, right? That you
Yes, October, end of October. I wasn't happy in the high school I was at. It didn't work for me. So my parents, I'm very thankful. My mom took a job to send me to Buffalo Seminary.
and tell me a little bit about that experience there and what athletic opportunities then you had at Buff Sem at the time.
Well, it was minimal, but it was something. So I say minimal. I think we had a field hockey team, and I remember if we beat Nottingham Academy, then we got a day off from school. And so one of the very first things I did was go out for field hockey, and I'd never really played it before, but if you're an athlete, you can play anything. And I scored a goal, and it was fun, and that's how I got to know different people. And there were girls in my class that were like me. They were skiers, and they liked sports, and it was fun. I was a good move for me.
Was that maybe now I say like one of the first times, but a really good time for you to be around other girls who are also like-minded? Obviously, your sisters were and your family was, but
Yeah.
outside of your family too.
Well, I think there were a lot of girls in our neighborhood when I was younger, that were very active. My next door neighbor was a junior national skier. She was fantastic. Um, but but I think at that time girls were socialized to go away from sports. There weren't any opportunities in sports. So if you liked sports, you were a tomboy, or there was like a lot of negativism associated with playing sports. And so you didn't play, and a lot of girls didn't play, but they would have wanted to, I
Mhm.
think.
It just kind of deterred people from doing that because of just the
Yeah,
way society talked about girls who played
right,
sports.
right.
Was there a point that you really kind of fell in love with basketball?
I think about in the third grade when we did three-player weave. So right from the beginning, I was crazy about basketball, but I was crazy about all kinds of sports. I mean, if I'd had the opportunity to play on a hockey team, I would have loved ice hockey. Um, I love tennis. I mean, there really wasn't a sport I didn't like.
Uh-huh. Was there a point when the basketball then became the sport for you?
Let's see, probably. I mean, I think it was kind of just an easy sport that you could even play by yourself. I could take the ball and just go. We didn't have a hoop at our house, but go to a neighborhood hoop. And then I played like a little, they had a city rec league that Monday night they had games at 6:30, 7:30, and 8:30. And I get the paper out and see what time my team was playing. And I was playing with women that were like out of college. They were like, it was older women that had a rec league. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just dribbled the ball, but I looked forward to it, and I loved it. I couldn't wait for the game that night. So I like to watch basketball. But again, I really liked all sports, and then basketball just kind of, I don't know, I don't know, it just kind of grew on me, I guess.
Uh-huh. Can you tell me about then your college experience? And I know, was it Albany and then you went to Indiana?
Right. So I went to Albany for 1 year, and I really didn't feel, you know, again, there was no recruiting the way it is now for college sports. I really didn't understand picking a college, and um, I went to Albany because I was familiar with Albany. That's where I had gone to high school, and I'd been at a campus school, so I was familiar with the campus, and that was just an easy decision for me. And it wasn't. I was a New York State resident, so it wasn't real expensive. And I'm the oldest of five, and my parents didn't really have a lot of money. So, when I was there for 1 year, my coach was my high school coach. And, when I had been at the Milne School before my parents moved to Western New York, and we had like I'm going to say we probably played like a 8 game schedule or something like that. But I think we had uniforms, but I don't even remember if we did, because there were some times where we just wore like, gym suits and stuff. Um, but I played on the tennis team and the basketball team at Albany. And then when we played a team from New York, Queens College, and this was in 1970. See, I think it was 72. 1972, Queens College beat us like a drum. I mean, whoa, 50 points. And I'm like, I want to play at a different level. So I convinced four people, and one of them had a big Delta 88. We drove to the national tournament, which was in Illinois. It was in Normal, Illinois. And so this was like in the spring of 1972. I was a freshman in college. I took a notebook and I watched the 16 teams that were there, and I decided I was going to transfer to Indiana. And that's how I decided to transfer, was based on what I saw with their basketball team. So I recruited myself to Indiana, and there were no
Uh-huh.
scholarships or anything. So I transferred,
So
and
yeah, and then just go ahead. Sorry.
it was great.
Yeah, tell me about that experience at Indiana.
Um, our basketball coach for women was a graduate student, and she might have had an unpaid assistant, whereas the coach of the men's team was Bobby Knight, and he was very famous basketball coach. They had, scholarships. They flew the guys around. They had training table. They had everything, and we had nothing. But our team was very good. We went to the Final Four my first year, my sophomore year. We went back to the national tournament my junior year, and then we got beat my senior year. But we I played basketball like when I was in Indiana. I'd go over and play like just pick up basketball all afternoon and then all night. Like I played for hours, and a lot of people did. A lot of boys and girls too.
What was it about playing that drew you to just play all the time? Like what was it about being on the court? Was it
Uh, I don't know. It was fun. You're with your friends, you meeting
Mhm.
people. It's a great workout. I liked other things too. I mean, I would go to the pool um, but school wasn't that hard for me. And so I was done with studying pretty fast. And then I was at the gym, and we would play against, we had just played pickup, and we had fun. We had a great group of, both guys, men and women, young college students. We had fun.
so at the time you're playing, it would have been AIAW, correct?
Correct.
So your career spans AIAW, Title IX, and then NCAA, coming into play. What can you tell me about that time with the AIAW and that living through that transition period too, which I know was kind of bumpy and rocky?
Well, I mean, when I was playing, I was thankful for the AIW, the opportunity to play on a team, the opportunity. We stayed four to a room. We took a van to the games. We bought, maybe bought our own meals. We bought our own shoes. It was not the NCAA. It was pre-Title IX. And so one time I just remember I lived in an apartment with three other basketball players, and then there were some other players that would come over. We'd have dinner. We'd make like, we'd get pizza or whatever. We're sitting around, and we're like, someday there's going to be scholarships for girls to go to college, and then people would go, that's never going to happen. And then I say, no, someday there's going to be professional women's basketball. And so we would dream about the things that are in fact happening now. And we would just like, maybe some people were drinking a beer or something, and that's never going to happen. And Tara, you're crazy, but honestly, the things that have happened, I could see. I mean, I could see that we're going to have this. This is going to happen. And I don't even know how I knew it, but, just even like when I was a really little girl, I could say, I'm going to be in an arena and there's going to be thousands of people. And that's what happened like with the Olympics or with, a lot of our games.
Mhm.
I wasn't playing, I was
Was
coaching by then, but
Right. What was speaking about coaching, what was the point or what was the time or the evolution that coaching kind of became your calling or your thing to do?
well, I never planned to coach. I planned to go to law school. I graduated and majored in sociology, and I took a year off from college because I don't, I just thought I needed a break from school. And then I went home at Christmas because I ran out of money, and I was hanging out at home. And about a week after Christmas, my dad was like, "Well, what's your plan?" And I said, "Well, I'm just going to hang out." And he said, "Well, they just, they have a high school team that your sister's on. You're going to go coach that team." And I was like, no. And he like, yes. So I ended up coaching that team, and they had just started it. And, so this was the first year they'd had it. And it was fun. And so then I ended up working at Kathy Rush basketball camp. Kathy Rush was the coach of Immaculata, and she had a big basketball camp. I worked that all summer, and then I'm like, okay, so I wrote to 20 colleges. I just said, I'm interested in going to graduate school, working, with your basketball program. I'm volunteering. And so I got 2 letters back. One was from Ohio State and one was from USC. And I'd never been to California, so I just said, I'll go to Ohio State. And I loved it. I worked at Ohio State for 2 years as an assistant coach, a graduate assistant coach. My first year, I was totally volunteer, and I coached a JV team, which was great. And then my second year, I coached. We didn't have JV. I just was the assistant, and I went to graduate school, and so I got my master's degree in a year and a half.
Okay. And what high school was it that your sister was at that was that
She was
first
at
year?
Niagara Falls High School.
She at Niagara Falls High School? Okay.
Yeah.
So then you get to Ohio State as the head coach. I want to talk to you about
Well,
how did you go back to Ohio? Yeah.
I got my master's degree from Ohio State. I was the assistant coach and the JV coach, and my first head job was at Idaho. So I was the head coach at Idaho for 2 years, 1978 to 79, 79 to 80. And then there was an opening at Ohio State and at Indiana where I'd gone to school. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to one of these places. And then Indiana announced their head coach, and I said, okay, I'm going to Ohio State. And so then I went back to Ohio State, and I worked for a woman who was a fantastic athletic director. Her name was Phyllis Bailey. And Phyllis has passed away, but was a wonderful, wonderful woman and tremendous leader. Had to fight for a lot of things at Ohio State, and she did. And I love my time at Ohio State. It was a fabulous experience, and we had great, great teams.
And one of the players on that team, one of those teams was Yvette Angel, right?
Right.
One of the best players I think to ever come out of Buffalo.
Who's better? Who's a better player?
I don't know, but I
don't think there is one.
I don't think there is.
I mean, on the men's side, Duke has who's the kid that went to Duke from Nichols?
Leitner.
Who's that?
Christian Leitner.
Yeah, like that. She's that caliber player.
She's yes,
or better
for sure. Recruiting her, and because she told me you saw her at the Empire State Games because she was playing with Heidi on that team.
Yeah. I don't remember being at the Empire State Games. I'm trying to think of where I did see her, but I know that my sister Heidi was playing with Yvette. And I'm trying to, I can't picture seeing Yvette play in high school. But she was a talent. So I must have seen her at Empire State Games.
Okay. And tell me about what it was that you saw about her and what it was like to coach her at Ohio State.
Well, what I remember is that we lost. She was going to be an incoming freshman, and we lost a game at the end of my first year at Ohio State. And I remember being really sad and really depressed and just like, wow, and then my assistant coach said, Yvette's coming next year. And I'm like, okay, so it was like a total, as soon as I thought about her, and she came in with a great class. She was a freshman at Ohio State with a woman named Carla Chapman, who is in the Ohio Hall of Fame, Teresa Bush, and Kristen Watt. So the 4 of them were, and they're very close still. They were a great class, and then the next class after was a great class too. So she played with some really, really talented players.
She was telling me about the game against Iowa in Iowa. That was the first sellout for a women's college basketball game. So talk about the foresight that you had back when you were a student, talking about where the game would go. Go ahead.
Well, let me back up. When Yvette was a freshman, we played against Tennessee, and we played in a tournament in Oregon. It was they call it like the Rose Tournament. Portland's this city of roses. And Yvette, as a freshman, we went into overtime and she put this move on, the winning basket. I mean, she was phenomenal. Yvette played at one speed, just her speed. And she was, she never got sped up. She just, really knew what she was doing and she was really talented. And she was so smooth. Sometimes I don't think she got recognized by the other team. So I'll give you an example. Like we had this, and she kind of was like, she kind of just was her own person and very humble. And she is like the best player on our team by far. And we had great players, but we did a thing where the Big Ten coaches all voted for the, Big Ten first team or second team or whatever. And I had my ballot and I voted Yvette number one. And then I found out you couldn't vote for your own player. So then I had to cross her out. But she didn't make the first team. And I was like beside myself. And I called her into my office. And I remember she had eating her oatmeal and had her sweats on. And I go, Yvette, I said, I'm really upset that you weren't named the first team all Big Ten. And she said to me, she said, Tara, that's not important. What's important is that our team does well and our team wins. And I said, yes, you're right. But I want to show you my ballot because this is why we can beat all these teams. They don't even know who our best player is, and she kind of just like, let it go. But I was still mad about it. And I think Yvette should have been on the Olympic team. I think she was, she's just a phenomenal player.
Mhm.
And I think she was All-American caliber player, and she never got the recognition I think she deserved.
Yes. I mean, I look at her just on paper, her stat lines, right? Let alone being able, I didn't get to have the opportunity to see her play, but
Yeah, she was phenomenal.
mhm.
And she was a great leader. She never got flustered. I don't ever remember having one bad day with Yvette. I mean, she was on time. Hard worker. She was competitive. She was a great teammate. She was really special player.
Uh-huh.
I got spoiled very early.
With her for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she was jumped the gun earlier, but she was talking about that game at Iowa.
Well, the
And that
Iowa
sellout
game,
game.
so the Iowa game was not just a sellout. There were 22,157 people there. And the reason that they say that is because they had to call the fire marshal because the arena holds 16,000. And so people were in the aisle and we were down at halftime. I think we were down 12. And you'd have to look at the score, but we came back to win the game. And what was funny was we knew there was going to be a big crowd. We didn't know it was going to be that big. But on the way to the gym, there was a traffic jam. It was at noontime. We were going to the gym around noontime. And I said to my assistant, what's going on? And my assistant said, these people, I said, did church let out? And my assistant said, no, Tara, these people are coming to our game. And it looked like a beehive because it was all yellow and black. I was there with Vivian Stringer and I'm like, they're playing the anthem and we were both standing outside and I'm like, can you believe this? I'm like, this is amazing. It was really thrilling. And then we won, which was even more exciting.
Even more exciting to win. But I was just going to ask you, so exciting and the buzz. What was it like? That wasn't typical,
No.
crowd to play in front of at the time. So how did you have to manage that?
Well, I think that um, we did some prep with our team. We did get we had a sports psychologist come in and just talk to them about, the fans can't score or, just to have people relaxed and just play their game and not let the crowd upset them or in any way. And there were starting to be we had 10,000 people when we came back to Ohio State. So there were big crowds starting right then.
Mhm. What do you think has been what do you think kind of got women's basketball to that point? Was it just people being able to see it and then be able to appreciate it and then become fans of the game?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't on television.
Mhm.
Um, it was a little bit of word of mouth. And then it was kind of a niche sport, like, um, it, and in the Midwest, I mean, it's in the winter. What else are you going to do? You're going to go to the movies. You're going to, I mean, I think that when we got a little press, um, then people were curious and they would come out, and it was more than curiosity than anything else.
Mhm. What you mentioned, you get a little press. What was media coverage like for you in those early days?
In Ohio, it was pretty good.
Mhm.
Columbus, the Columbus Dispatch covered, I think, Ohio State basketball pretty well even back then.
Mhm. Then when you went to Stanford, what did you notice about that, about then going out to California?
Well, I took over a team that had been 5-23, um, and nine, and I mean, it was not a winning program. I mean, you're looking at the gym, that's how many people we had at the game right there. I mean, it was empty. And we had to build a program, and I would say it took a really good, before I ever felt like there was any electricity in the gym, it took like a good 3 years.
Mhm. It's one thing for a head coach, like you're building your team, right? You're building your program and you're trying
Mhm.
to the on the floor. What was it like though? How much were you then invested and have to do to then get those people into the gym and to kind of sell it to the community?
Mhm. Um, I would do stuff like, well, when I was at Ohio State, the rules were a little bit different. I mean, every night I was going to a high school game, and so I was out all over the state watching girls play. Um, at Stanford, you can't just drive from there to, Delaware when you're recruiting a kid, or Tennessee when we're recruiting kids. So I was very involved with recruiting, but I probably did more speaking, with Rotary and stuff like that, just to get some buzz going about the team. And um, it we got some great, great players pretty fast, and so that we were able to turn it around.
Just two more questions for you. So one is, what does Title IX mean to you?
I don't know that there's anyone that has been any more impacted by Title IX than me. Like my life in terms of, first of all, not having Title IX and not being able to do things, and then having it, and it basically determined a career for me. I wouldn't have the life I had without Title IX. I wouldn't, I mean, there wouldn't be jobs. Like my coach was a graduate student. I've made a career of coaching. I've traveled all over the world because of basketball. I've been to the Olympics and done, I mean, just amazing. I have to pinch myself, the people I've met, the places I've been. And it's because of Title IX that I've gotten that opportunity, and I'm very thankful.
Right. And the last question for you is what would you want the younger generation to kind of understand about the history of where women's sports has come from?
Mhm. Well, probably, the further we get away from Title IX, assuming that it's still enforced, or tried to be enforced, maybe the further we get away, the less people know about it, and how absolutely life-changing it has been for girls and women to have the opportunity to play sports and play at a high level and have organized sports. I would really encourage, now we have NIL and all other stuff, and it's all good, but I want girls and boys to love playing the way I love playing. That, you're only young for a very short amount of time, and to not be worried about, what my brand and, how much money I can make going to this school or that school, but to really love the the competition. I listened to a speech. You might be interested in this. It's on the website. Katie Ledecky spoke at Stanford graduation, and
Hmm.
she gave a great speech and talked about, she was a person that, like, loves the process more than the podium. Like the she talked about how much she had trained. I think she said she had swum over 26,000 miles, and then the races would boil down to like 100 miles. She's only, and all the races that she's done in all of her life are such a fraction of her training, and that she embraced the training. And I would just say I want to encourage young girls and young boys to enjoy the journey of sports and the people that you meet and the friends that you have and the relationships that you build. Not just all about your brand and money. And that's sometimes where it's going right now.
Tara, thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate and what an honor it is to be able to talk with you as well. And I appreciate you being part of this this project that I'm working on.
Nice to meet you, and I apologize for being late. So, but have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thank you, Amy.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.